Why do the people think they know things and talk about how others don't know anything? Why is it so easy to get people to call other people sheep? Is that not just the new underground pop thing to say? You have homophobia. This could be sheepophobia. Everybody calls everybody else a sheep. They talk about how they're awake. People believe that if they watch a 6-hour video by David Icke, or watch Endgame by Alex Jones, or study the Illuminati online, they believe that after doing so, that has anything, in any way, to do with being awake. They believe it. I'm not kidding. They can't get enough. Addicted to posting their opinion in a forum. Chasing that white rabbit everywhere it goes. And they call themselves awake because the system wants you to call yourself awake. It loves that. Cockiness, arrogance, and hating other people. And as you're sucked into this, it is consuming you and you don't know it. You don't even realize it. You just prefer to be able to call people sheep. Perhaps subconsciously you resent that you were called a sheep. You want to be able to say it too. The naivety with that is that you don't know anything that they know. And they know you don't know it. You're not hurting their feelings. You're making them laugh at you. Because you're eating up mostly propaganda that they have distributed. Calling yourself awake and pointing your finger at them, and you are hardly enabled to deal with them or even your own self. John, tell me why. John, give me. John, tell me another answer, please. And can you answer this question for me? And what's your opinion on that? You owe me a response. I owe you a response? How much am I getting paid to do this? Oh, that's right. Nothing. I couldn't even count the number of people that have declared being awake to me. Couldn't do it. People are very easily controlled. All they have to do is create a new subcategory of personalities. Right now you have the jocks, you have the rednecks, you have the goth, you have the preppies, you have the business people and the whatever. Now they have the awake people. The reason nobody knows anything can only be explained to you by a metaphor, of course. In this realm, you can only use metaphor. Think of the difference between a broadband connection and a 56K connection. Now, there are people that know what is occurring in this reality. Many of them joined secret societies. So it's not that they have knowledge, it's just that they have acquired information. They went in reverse. You see, true knowledge is true knowledge. Those with understanding understand what I just said, those without don't. It's pre-symbol. A symbol is no different than any expression, a song, a picture, a sound, a look, a touch. A symbol should be the result of knowledge. The understanding, the awareness, and then you have the symbol surface. Having somebody learn symbols and then distributing a very strategically limited amount of meaning to that person does not give them knowledge. They perceive that they're getting knowledge. For example, I could say the word gum to some bubblegum popping dizzy-minded cheerleader, and the only meaning that she may come up with when she hears that word is chewing gum. I could say the same word gum to somebody else and they may think chewing gum, but they could also think a gum tree or the gums around your teeth. Could say it to another person, they'll think chewing gum, a gum tree, gums around your teeth, but maybe they're thinking even deeper. Maybe they have a deeper understanding. Metaphorical comparison to other things. gummy substances used in construction, maybe molecular assessment. I only used one word, a phonetic symbol, written if you're looking at it. The meaning transferred by using that symbol is directly dependent upon who is receiving the information. If it's the cheerleader, she's only going to get a very limited amount of understanding, just enough to communicate. The line by Gene Hackman in the first Superman, some people can extract the secrets of the universe just by looking at the ingredients on a chewing gum wrapper, is absolutely correct. What that means is you can get a lot of information just by being aware. The creases in the paper, the spacing between the letters themselves, the space around the letters, all the nuances. Now, unfortunately, I have to say that this is a metaphor, okay? A metaphor. That does not mean that you should go and try to learn as many meanings as you can for each word that you know. That would have nothing to do with anything. That was just a metaphor that I used. If you think of a symbol, and you look at maybe the shape of the number 6, you can be told what that means. But perhaps if you're bathing in knowledge and awareness in life, suddenly you have an understanding, and then a symbol like 6 comes up. Maybe you think of getting caught in a tumor and you come in but you can't get out, and you're caught in a vortex, a circular cyclic existence. Getting in, not getting out. Something like that, you know. What they do to you early is they show you all the symbols and tell you what they mean. And they don't tell you completely what they mean, of course. They tell you what they want you to think they mean. Why? Because what is the true purpose of being? If you're not extracting meaning from your path, from your experience, deriving meaning from it, and creating expression, the expression would always be the symbolic. A picture, a touch, a kiss, anything, an image, right? If you're only copying what they've told you things mean, and replicating what they've told you to use them for, and how to use them, how to speak, how to think, what means what you're supposed to do, what the meaning of your life is. If you allow yourself to be told what the meaning of your life is by something in your objective reality, somebody else, what is your purpose other than to be a slave? Forget about laws and politics, that's all bull. That's only a result. If you're not creating, and the only way you're going to create is by extracting meaning from within. If you can't do that, what is the point of you being around other than to be a slave? Acquiring detail. This means this. I learned what this symbol means. This pagan symbol means this. What do you mean you learned? Did you look it up? Were you told, or did you read what it means? Or did you sit there by a lake and think about life as a whole and what's happening, and the symbol came up and you're like, oh my gosh. See, the oh my gosh is when you extract meaning. It doesn't have to be a traumatic thing like, oh my gosh. It can be, oh my God. That is the sign of a creative. Somebody that's always in their mind like, I get it, oh my gosh. And you want to tell the whole world. Because you've just created, you've extracted meaning from within. Those that even if they have opened up, all right, and they were seeking information, because information is not knowledge. So enlightenment would be in the category of information. Why? Because as it's sold, as it ends up being, all you're doing is changing your perception of reality, just seeing other templates of symbolic expression. There are no answers there if you're depending upon anything you experience to give you those answers. So in truth, if you have the meaning inside and you come up with symbols and you see them in your objective reality, maybe somebody else came up with it too, you have an understanding, an immediate understanding. Sometimes that can be faked or replicated. Somebody's been indoctrinated into a system where they had to learn specific meanings to symbols, and so one who is in the know, one who has knowledge, may run into somebody like that, and the person may have learned enough so that you have an understanding. But the person that learned it will still look at you, if you came from within to know, in a way that they're curious. How do you know? Because you seem to have a different, a fuller understanding of it, a non-polarized understanding of it. They learn a few specific ways to talk about it and what it means, but you can talk about it endlessly with different metaphors. What's the difference? Well, what's the difference between reading a book and memorizing somebody else's conclusions and extracting meaning and coming to your own? It's like the difference between a muffin top and a muffin. They've got you all eating up muffin tops, but you don't have the knowledge underneath. Is that a permanent thing? Absolutely not. The reason you don't know anything is because many people that do have knowledge, even if they wanted to tell you, it's like they are on a broadband connection and you're on 56K. There is so much information, and unfortunately, as it is right now, the general population has no idea. They look at a symbol, maybe they're taught a symbol. Either they really don't have any understanding of it, or it's a very limited understanding. If you have knowledge inside of you, you could sit there and talk about that one symbol all day. There's more than one meaning attached to symbols. Like I told you, a deer in the woods can mean more than one thing by stomping their hoof. If you seek the symbol, the muffin top, you will never have the whole muffin. And this is what people do when they try to seek videos and books and all. They're looking for muffin tops. They're looking for the end result. Therefore, you are dependent upon the meaning that is given to you. So somebody in the know, if they're talking to somebody that isn't in the know, can be very difficult. Why? Well, a very naive thing to say, or if somebody's trying to manipulate you, control your mind, they'll say this: the truth is an easy thing to say. And anybody who speaks for a long time to you, they're trying to manipulate you. Now that's a very naive thing to say. Yes, somebody who depends upon a lot of words, really trying to control what you're thinking, could very well be trying to manipulate you. But if you depend upon length of speech, and that's where your perception lies, you wouldn't be able to tell anyway. If someone's trying to manipulate you, you should pick up on that within seconds, regardless of what they're saying. The truth is something easy to say. If one person in the know is speaking to another person in the know, in other words, you've both reached the same conclusions and you know it. You know when other people know. You just do. That's why they don't say anything other than that. You know when other people know. And you say, well, that's ambiguous. And that's ambiguous to you. But that is a symbol. To say that sentence, you know when other people know, that is a symbol. And those who have come to the conclusion on their own understand the full meaning of that. Those who may have heard that from some philosopher, and they were told that that philosopher was brilliant, so they decided to dwell upon things the philosopher said. If a philosopher says to you, you just know when other people know, well, you trust that philosopher because everybody has given them a 5-star rating. So you think, well, that must mean something, so I'm going to sit around and think about it. You can't sit around and think about that. That is a result of so many experiences. So, if I say you just know when other people know, You don't have to sit around and assess and calculate in your mind and think of behavioral patterns, or they said this and they said that. I'm going to put two and two together and formulate an assessment of them and what their intentions are. If you are doing that, that is robotic. It's nothing against you. If I were against you, I wouldn't be trying to help. It's the conclusion that matters. If you reach it on your own, because a conclusion is a symbol. It is a symbolic representation, the quote, the conclusion that has so much attached to it, all of your experiences that tie into the conclusion. How do you extract meaning? Well, perhaps you have an experience. It could be a social experience, it could be anything. And that experience is finished and that means nothing to you. Then you have another experience and you see that it's different, but there's something similar to that other experience. You're kind of like, And then you have a third experience in your life, and it's really similar now, all three of them. Then you have a fourth experience that solidifies the similarity and prompts a question. It is the fourth experience that prompted you to ask the question, but it required the other three preceding it. The fourth experience, if it were isolated in and of itself, would never have prompted it. You needed all four experiences. So now you have the question. And maybe you have a whole other series of experiences that are happening so that you can extract meaning to address the question. And maybe after all of that, you come to a conclusion. And now that conclusion propels you in your advancement of understanding and extracting meaning in your life, and you start a whole other series of experiences. And that's just one facet of your life, and maybe simultaneously you have 30 other paths going like that, like I just explained, and maybe all 30 of them come to one peak of a conclusion, and you need it. All 30 paths that had many, many experiences within each path, leading up to minute conclusions that come together that lead you to a new understanding. That takes time, it takes attentiveness, and the desire to have meaning, to have purpose. And now that one new understanding could be one of thousands that eventually tie in, and you don't even know it, right? Until you reach the oh my gosh. And all of these things come from within. Your ability to make use of pattern recognition, to see how things are always and never the same. What do they have in common? Did you get out there and experience people of different cultures? Were you too busy trying to project your culture onto them and see what they would say? Or were you trying to figure out what you had in common? I did that my whole life. In the moment of doing it, I didn't really necessarily know why I was motivated to do it. My spirit did, but my conscious mind didn't. Your spirit will lay breadcrumbs for you throughout your entire life or path. So if you come to an understanding, and then several understandings, and you know how much is involved with it, you can tell other people the details of your path, but that isn't their path. And if they try to memorize the details of your path, they're pulled off of their path. This is why I have been really careful not to give too much information about my path. People always ask me, tell me how this all began. And the details of my path are irrelevant. The understanding is the important thing, the conclusions I reach. And I can share conclusions with you to motivate you. But I can't have you memorize my conclusion. So I have to have a delicate balance of rhetoric with the information. And the information is not volumes of information. It's enough to make my point clear. It's enough to show you that I've learned. But I don't want you to memorize the details of my life. One who really cares for you will be attentive to that. And the idea of indoctrinating somebody with an oath is absolute evil. Why? Because they're declaring they do not want you to be a creative being and extract your own meaning. You will go through steps in which they will spoon feed you meaning. And because it's more meaning than you had before, more knowledge, you're really impressed by it. You think you're actually getting something. You think that you're being empowered. When they know that by keeping you from being able to extract meaning on your own, they've got complete control over you. They have pulled you off of your path. But if they did that successfully, you would never even have thought of that, now would you? Because you won't extract your own meaning, you see? Nevertheless, somebody with a lot of knowledge, if they're on a broadband connection and they're speaking to somebody in a 56K connection, it's anything but easy to tell the truth. Like I said before, one in the know can say the truth very easily to another in the know. If one in the know is speaking to an individual that is not in the know, saying the truth is anything but easy. Why? Because of what you know. You know of the enormous gaps that they have. That you cannot just say the truth because they'll understand the words with the limited understanding they have in their concept building by society. But they would need to go through so much. And you know that they don't believe that. Telling them that makes no sense to them. They say, the truth is simple, you should be able to give me a simple answer. And then what happens is the people that have knowledge get very frustrated. The very moment you interrupt them or cut off what they're saying to you when they have to extend great patience to try to tell you the truth, and you cut them off and want to give them your opinion, or you tell them that you agree with them or disagree. To somebody in the know, when they're speaking to somebody that is not in the know, when the person that is not in the know says that they agree or disagree, both of those things are offensive. Because they know you should just have your mouth shut and take in what they're saying, and a lot of what they're saying will be rhetoric. But I talk to people like this all the time. They completely ignore the rhetoric. I'll use rhetoric. That if they had wisdom, they would understand at least, okay, there's something with this, and they blow it off. They go, yeah, but anyway, and then I blow them off. And they have no idea why I blew them off. Or people will just bombard me with questions. Questions that are what you call loaded. Anybody in the know would say that's a loaded question. Because you lack so much just in the fact that you're asking those questions shows how much you don't know. And you ask them in a very naive way. It's not your fault, but you expect a simple answer. People will go up to somebody with knowledge that has required an entire lifetime of attentive awareness to their experiences, detailed and disciplined effort to extract meaning from your life, and they ask you a simple question and expect somehow that you are going to be able to transfer a lifetime of understanding in 2 or 3 paragraphs. They truly do. They do expect that, otherwise they wouldn't ask the question. So you have this huge gap between those who are in the know and those who are not in the know. Those who are not in the know do not know they're not in the know because of how they have been taught to think. They have been incorrectly instructed in their thinking process itself. They have been taught to look outside of themselves for answers. They have been misinformed about what answers are because they've spent their whole life having the meaning spoon-fed to them. They think that's how it works, so you ask a question and somebody can spoon-feed you the answer. And because you lack any meaning or an understanding, you don't understand why that answer is wrong, limited, or even misleading you. You can't. Based upon that, based upon how you've been instructed to think. So a lot of people that have knowledge When they interact with the average person, they get very, very frustrated. Very. They'll just look at you. All they can do is look at you because they can't say anything to you. You would not be able to extract meaning from what they say. They said gum, all you would do is hear chewing gum. And they're thinking 500 different meanings to gum, all leading up to a point of conclusion. If you lack that, it's a waste of time to tell you anything. This is why, when you hear someone tell you that you cannot be told the truth, this is why. So they'll look at you and they'll have that look. And those in the know understand that look. It's a look that says, you know so little. You know absolutely nothing and don't know it. To tell you what I know, I would need 500 mouths and have to be able to speak 500 different sentences simultaneously, all at the same time, to express what I know, and you would have to be able to interpret 500 simultaneous sentences flowing at you at once. That's what that look says. And the look also says you don't even know that. And if I told you that, you would call me arrogant because you've been trained to call people arrogant. You don't even know what that means. So they'll just sit there and shake their head at you. They shake their head from side to side because they're paralyzed. It's the questions you ask, the way that you ask the questions, and what you do if they actually try to answer them. How long does it take before you cut them off, roll your eyes, or get distracted by something that occurs in the room, like a cat being distracted by bright and shiny objects? And if they're trying to tell you something, and maybe your cell phone will ring and you'll tell the person trying to give you truth to hang on, Shelly has to talk about her boyfriend. Okay, hey, you're not going to get the truth. You're nowhere near prepared to even comprehend anything that is true. And then you say, come on, just tell me. You can't be told. Well, that doesn't make sense. All you have to do is tell me. You can't be told. Not in your current state. You need a lot of work. And you don't understand why you need a lot of work. That's what it comes down to. Now, nothing is 100%. Am I saying that every Freemason has been spoon-fed? No, there's a lot of intuitive people that probably joined that. But they were naive enough to be sucked in. But some of these people may want to tell the world things. Maybe they thought, you know, this isn't fair. I gotta tell them what's going on. And they tried. Maybe they tried with a few people, but they got the rolling of the eyes. Or the person that they knew nothing, tried to debate them. They're so far out of the know that they can't even recognize truth when it's told to them. Do you know that the majority of the people that look up information on the Illuminati point their fingers at people in the Illuminati? If you actually sat down in a room with these people and were allowed to ask them questions and they had to be honest with you, if they told you the truth, you either wouldn't understand or you would roll your eyes, you would laugh at them. I know enough to know that. A problem with somebody in an organization like that is not only are they separated from you, they're separated from you because they cannot relate to you. Because what you think is not what they think is. That's first and foremost, and that's by design, by that which sucked them into it. They're also controlled by an oath with fear. And it's not just fear of death. They'll use threats of the unknown because these people are shown different templates of reality. And they say, we control that too. So if you do this, it's not over when you die. We'll get you here, here, and here. And they don't know any difference. They can't prove that that isn't happening, that that won't happen. That's the fear of the unknown. When are you subjected to the fear of the unknown? When you look outside of yourself for meaning. They are answering to a consciousness that overwhelms them. It can speak through anyone, they know it. If they want to ask it a question, they can look in a cloud. So that can be overwhelming for them, and I understand that. My intent is not to point my finger at anybody or anything on any scale. People in these societies are sucked in, then they're blackmailed. Because even though they believe they have all of this knowledge, some of it is filtered in their mind by the consciousness that controls their minds. So they don't think about certain things. Controlling of their mind to make them deviate in a way that society would want to pick up stones and throw them at them. Because society is corrupt too, that's why they're so judgmental. These people are scared of that type of persecution. I understand that. I'm not going to point my finger at them for being scared of it. Rather, I would like to go through it in some ways myself and show them that it's worth it. And show them their own value. I want to show everybody value. I'm not polarized here. Because that's what's in my heart. If I feel like a healer, how could I look at somebody with a disease and just focus on their behavior and be too stupid to recognize that their behavior is a result of a condition? Now, if I have true wisdom, wouldn't I address the condition? I would only focus on somebody's conduct throughout their life if I had a very small mind and had no capabilities, no abilities, no talent, no gift to give, no ability to create. My desire is to heal both myself and everything I see, and not carry the whole world on my shoulders when I do it, but rather be moment to moment. Since everybody else is ignoring the problem, the majority, and I say, wait a minute, that person doesn't have to be that way. They don't have to be corrupt, and I know it because I've watched my own corruption get healed. So if it can happen for me, I know it can happen for somebody else. I would be what you call a fool. The one that comes in with the hat and the bells? I would be a fool to blind myself to the whole picture and not take everything into account. That includes my own behavior, my own path, because that's where I'm going to get any knowledge from anyway.